If we look into world history and see about famous leaders of the world, one would say the names of Franklin Roosevelt, Winston Churchill, Mahatma Gandhi, or Nelson Mandela. But there is a leader whose contributions for his nation are unprecedented. When he came to power, his country was torn into four pieces. One part of his country was under the control of Soviet Russia, when the other three parts were occupied by America, Great Britain, and France. His entire homeland was destroyed due to the most destructive war ever fought in human history. His nation, which was carrying the legacy of Holy Roman Empire and Prussian Empire that spanned thousands of years, was now under occupation of foreign powers. Everywhere in the country, there were signs showing that you were entering a massive sector, British territory, or French area. Not only the country was divided, but poverty was also extreme. The debt was so much that everyone thought that it would take many centuries to be paid. Millions of its youth was killed, and the leader they were madly behind had committed suicide. Thousands of its soldiers were prisoners of war, imprisoned in unknown locations, and many were awaiting trial for war crimes. The morale of the nation was on the ground. No one expected that they would get out of this hell and were hopeless for the future. In this time of misery, elections were announced in 1949, which were to be supervised by the Russian powers. And the leader who came to power and took this hopeless nation of Germany to the heights of glory was 73-year-old German Chancellor Konrad Adenauer. For the elections, Adenauer formed a political alliance called the Christian Democratic Union. He started his campaign with the slogans of peace and good relations with external powers and improved Germany's relations with Europe and the Western world, with whom Germany had just fought the Great War. He used to say that we have to come to peace from our past. That is by admitting the mistake that has happened. And German nation has to forgive itself and move forward while also forgiving the fate that has happened to us. The mindset of revenge will no longer work. We have to take the mindset of development, make our country stand on its feet again. He told his nation that we do not have to make revenge programs with Britain, France, America, or Russia, because in the First World War we have done it and seen it fail. Rather, he used to say that we have to develop together with our Western powers, with whom we are geographically connected. He thought so because he had seen with his own eyes what World War I and II. And I used to address university auditoriums, and he asked, "Tell me, children, why did it happen that such a madman became so dear to us that we forgot this logic, basic wisdom, coexistence, and tolerance? How did we allow a man like Adolf Hitler to come to power? What happened to our society checks?" He was trying to make his nation understand that the entire German nation may not be responsible for the destruction of Germany, but they presumed that by remaining silent and not confronting Hitler, ordinary Germans had made a mistake, and this mistake the nation should admit. His slogans of admitting past mistakes and moving forward was not very popular, but still he made many people think. Instead of selling for fake propaganda or hate, he chose to tell his people reality and gave the direction of development and patience to his people. When the results of election came on August 19, 1949, he got only 31% votes. It was not a huge success, but enough for a leader who really had a vision. It is said that Adenauer was elected chancellor by the EU German parliament by a majority of one vote, which was his own. And it was thought that Adenauer would only be caretaker chancellor, but the opposite happened. As after taking power, he started his nation-building vision. First, he organized programs to expose to his people Hitler's propaganda. Documentary films were shown to the public about prisons, concentration camps, and Holocaust. At the same time, he started talking to the Western powers and told them that we are part of you, accept us, remove the restriction imposed on us after the Second World War. In a speech on 20th September 1949, Adenauer denounced the denazification process pursued by the Allied military governments and announced plans to break in amnesty law for Nazi war criminals, as he thought that forceful denazification by foreign powers was increasing extreme nationalistic sentiments in the population. But he did ensure that democracy and liberalism would not be delayed in Germany. Shortly after winning the re-election in 1953, he went to London, showing that we are ready for reconciliation. After the start of the Cold War, the United States, together with Europe, formed NATO in 1949, which was a military alliance to protect Europe from Soviet Russia. So Chancellor Konrad Adenauer continued to try to make Germany a part of NATO, but they were not welcomed. But he kept on trying. 4 years passed, re-election happened, Adenauer won again. Now he went to Mecca, where he assured that he is first a European, then a German. He said that my country is a Western country. We are with the Western powers. And remember, at the time, East Germany was under complete influence of Soviet Russia, but the three parts of Western Germany were merged into one independent state and managed by the party who won the elections. 2 years after Adnier's American visit, Germany's first major success was that they were made part of NATO in 1955. He paid 3 billion francs to Jewish organizations to rid Germany of Hitler's legacy. This money was for compensation for atrocities Hitler committed on the Jews living in Germany in the form of Holocaust. He continued his humble leadership with his own body for the sake of Germany. They continued to develop their military and industry with the help of Western powers. The destroyed industries were restored one by one, and their authority was also taken back. The governments of his humble leadership came in 1955 when he visited Soviet Russia. As he was extremely anti-Russian and anti-socialist, and USSR called him a slave of the West, but he put his ego aside and reached Moscow. This was because thousands of German soldiers had been imprisoned since the end of the World War II. But the problem was that Soviet Russia always denied that they had any German prisoners. But when Chancellor Adnier had negotiations sitting at the table in Soviet Russia, he succeeded in getting the German prisoners released. After 11 years, around 10,000 German prisoners returned to their homes and embraced their loved ones. During his tenure in office, the Treaty of Paris was signed on 18 April 1951, establishing the European Coal and Steel Community, which was the basis of European Union. Despite unpopularity in Germany, Adnier prioritized European integration. From the beginning of his chancellorship, Adnier had been pressing for German rearmament. The outbreak of the Boer War in June 1950 led to US and British agreement on the necessity of West German rearmament, and West German military forces were created as part of a multinational European defense community. Because after the end of World War II, Germany was forced to give up its military. Adnier's era saw the establishment of an enhanced pension system and social market economy, contributing to the German economic miracle. Real wages doubled between 1950 and 1963. And unemployment dropped from 8% in 1915 to 0.4% in 1965. And advanced welfare state was also established. All this success boosted the morale of the Germans. The economy was also developing. Until the 60s, this 82-year-old man took his nation out of the pit. West Germany was completely out of control of Great Britain, America, and France. Germany was now divided into two parts, not four. On one side, he was the Chancellor of West Germany, and the other side was under the Soviet Russian influence in the form of East Germany, where there was communist dictatorship. Under his leadership, West Germany had developed so much that people fled from East Germany to West Germany. That is where Soviet Russia established a long-awaited war known as the Berlin Wall. Adnier died in 1967 at the age of 90 after serving as first Chancellor of Federal Republic of Germany from 1949 to 1963. But the Germany he founded and the trajectory he took on the great country he corrected is today the world's fifth largest economy. When Soviet Russia was collapsing, East Germany also joined West Germany in 1990. The Berlin Wall fell, and it showed the world about the success of Konrad Adnier's progressive policies. Adnier resigned as Chancellor at the age of 87 and remained head of the Eastern Democratic Union until his retirement at the age of 90. He continued to serve as a member of Bundestag for the constituency of Bonn until his death. In 2003, he was voted as the greatest German of all time in a contest for Our Best on German public service television broadcaster. His life shows that with that wit, determination, and iron will, one can overcome any obstacle for his own country.